Bitcoin is not a bubble that's waiting to burst at any moment. Bitcoin is the needle that's going to pop the bubble of the rest of the fiat financial system. The fiat financial system is built on top of a broken money that doesn't work for anyone. It's built on top of overinflated assets, and it's built on top of debt. The fiat economy runs on debt. The United States government is $37 trillion in debt. We have a debt-based economy with an inflationary currency, soon to be a hyperinflationary currency, and Bitcoin is here to expose all of the flaws in this financial system. These investments like stocks, bonds, and real estate are super, inflated because of the broken money. People have to invest in these assets just to keep up with monetary debasement. But if people simply switch to a Bitcoin standard where the money is the store of value, not stocks, bonds, and real estate, then it'll just expose all the flaws with our current financial system, and the bubble is going to burst eventually, right? The current path we're on with the fiat economy is not sustainable. We can't just keep going more and more into debt. We have about $9 trillion of debt that we need to refinance this next year. And it's just completely unsustainable. Basically, the US government has just been kicking the can down the road over and over again, printing more money, going further into debt, and hopefully someone eventually will have to deal with it. But Bitcoin is the way out. Bitcoin is the life raft that's waiting for you to step on and escape the sinking ship that is the fiat economy. Bitcoin is sound money that doesn't need, and so you don't need to invest in things just for the purpose of, being able to plan for the future. You should invest in things because you think they have a lot of potential. Most people just invest in the S&P 500 because it's perceived as a good investment. It's perceived that it will grow your value over time. And that historically has been true, that the S&P 500 has grown your fiat denominated wealth over time. So that would have been one of the best places for your money, but the current growth is just unsustainable, right? The S&P 500's growth is fueled by more money entering the system. $100 trillion has entered the system in about the last year and a half, 2 years. So we went from $9 trillion in global assets to 1,000 trillion or 1 quadrillion. And obviously, me and you, we don't feel the effects of this new wealth entering the system. We didn't get $100 trillion wealthier, but those closest to the money printer, those who own assets, are feeling the effects of that more. That's why these investments grow, is because more money is being added to the supply. That might be an oversimplification of how complicated this debt fiat-based system is. That's from my understanding, but Bitcoin does expose the flaws in the fiat system, and it'll continue to do so. And Bitcoin is entering the S&P 500, hopefully soon, with strategy. Strategy is going to give everyone exposure to Bitcoin, whether they like it or not, through the S&P 500. Most people own these index funds passively, but that's my mission with this channel, is to get as many people off of zero Bitcoin as possible. Because I want everyone to own Bitcoin. I don't want it to just be people benefiting that own assets like the S&P 500, but I want people to own Bitcoin, and I want everyone to be able to take part in this great wealth transfer that is happening right now. Bitcoin is sound money that was built to last hundreds, even thousands of years, while this fiat system is obviously unsustainable. So buying Bitcoin it's not about investing and growing your dollar-denominated wealth. It's about buying sound money, buying sound hard money for the future that is going to go a long way, because, the good news about $100 trillion being added to the global wealth is that that's more liquidity that can roll into Bitcoin. That's why I say there's no ceiling to Bitcoin's price. When people ask me, how high do you see Bitcoin going? Do you think is like the max, best case scenario? There is no top, because fiat money has no bottom, right? There's no limit to how many dollars could be created. 5 years from now, we could have $2 quadrillion worth of global assets. That's $1 trillion more dollars being added to to potentially move into Bitcoin, to move into sound money. So there's no limit. You know, we could have a hyperinflation event. The dollar could be printed into oblivion. You know, there's no way to predict how many dollars will enter the system. So if the dollar hyperinflates, then people will just rush to buy as much Bitcoin as possible, because that's the sound money that's left. That's the sound money, that's the needle that popped the bubble, that is the fiat system. And at that point in the future, if there's a hyperinflation event and everyone rushes to Bitcoin as the safe haven, then there's not going to be a fiat denominated price of Bitcoin. There's going to be no point even measuring it in dollars anymore, because it'll just be the world's money and everything will be priced in Bitcoin. So no one's going to want dollars for Bitcoin, right? That's a short-term thing. Every fiat currency has failed. Like, that's inevitable. There's no way you can continue on this track of debt and printing money. So it's inevitable that we're going to switch to sound money eventually. So there's no ceiling to the price that Bitcoin will hit, and then it'll be done. Like, the dollar eventually will go to zero or trend towards zero when priced in Bitcoin. So yeah, there's no point measuring that. There's no ceiling. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below. I'd love to have a conversation with you. And yeah, like and subscribe. That helps out the channel a ton. As always, together, let's work, save, and build a brighter future with Bitcoin. See you in the next video.